Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
What's that? What's Room Escape? You mean escape room? No. No? What's Room Escape? Is it
Jamie,
game?
it's just Jamie, bro.
What is it? What is RuneScape? Oh, RuneScape. Oh, so this is like some fantasy type shit?
We're gonna
like,
stop.
I'm gonna
Come
cast
on,
a
let's
spell
stop.
on you.
Come on, can we stop?
Look at this. You
Let's
thought
get
I would
back
be into
into,
this?
real
You thought
life.
I'd be into this?
Let's get back in
now
real
I'm
life.
insulted. I was fine until now.
Welcome to episode 228 of the Wilderness Podcast. I am your host, Dills, and joined with me this week is no one. Heartless is out dirt biking, or because of the season, he's out there snowmobiling. Actually, though, he's been sick. There's been something going around. I'm going to get into this a little bit, but I've been sick for like 2 weeks. We had to keep postponing our recordings, and then unfortunately, we got a lot to talk about this week, so we had to dive in and talk about some of the changes. But what we've got to talk about is we got a new quest, the Garden of Death, a new installment in the Twisted Tales. And with that comes a whole assortment of other goodies, including a ton of experience. If you've already completed every quest in the game, you got a buttload of experience because they have increased the rewards from some of the Master and Grandmaster quests. So if you've already completed it, you can go and get your experience, the experience lamps that you kind of could have missed out. I don't know. Anyways, Master quests, Grandmaster quests, they're even better to do now than they were before. Combat achievement rewards got some of an expansion, and they came out with something I was looking forward to, the Poison Dynamite. Unfortunately, this was a double-edged sword because it's something that got me excited to play my Snowflake Ultimate Iron Man account. And it is the exact same thing that got me burnt out on my Ultimate Iron account. So we'll get into it. We'll get into it shortly. But of course, we're only scratching the surface. The Winter Summit happened a few days ago. And with it, we got not one, not two, we got six. We got 6 announcements that came out with. And some of them are pretty big. A couple of them, I kind of wondered why they were in the Winter Summit. But that's okay. We still got lots to talk about. So there is a whole lot of fun stuff to do. But as I mentioned, running solo this week because Heartless got sick. Actually, we're not quite solo. Kind of got an in-house audience. Rudy, do you want to say hi?
Hey, how is everybody tonight?
That's my father-in-law. We are staying with family for the holidays. But a few weeks ago, it was my son's first birthday. And coincidentally, he has, I don't know if it's like really, I don't know what point you can call, like, at what age can you develop friendships? I don't really know. But he has my wife's friend has a baby who's the same age, and their birthdays fall on the same day. So it was our first time bringing the little one out to kind of go and interact with a bunch of other kids. And kind of awkward as adults, you just kind of sit there and you like watch them, and then that's kind of what happened. But what happened afterwards is, and I knew this was going to happen, he got sick and he passed it to me, my wife as well. And apparently Heartless, who's all the way on the other side of the country. I don't know how that happened, but it did. And now we're all got sick for like 2 weeks. And right when I was in the clear, I got COVID somehow, which is, it's my first time. I've never gotten it. So I finally got to join the club and I got COVID. It didn't hit me too hard, but it hit me hard enough that we had to keep postponing our recordings. But nonetheless, here we are today. Tons to talk about. Now, at the beginning of the show, I did play a clip, and I want to play a little bit again because I thought it was a kind of a funny situation that I think maybe some of us have found ourselves in, or in the past, I know I found myself in them, and it's kind of, I don't know, it felt all too relatable. So let's play. This is from a Joe Rogan podcast. The Joe Rogan Experience episode. I think I don't know if it still is, but at one point it was the biggest podcast out there. Now it's like a Spotify exclusive, so I don't think it still is. But anyways, he had a guest on, Danny Brown, and Danny brought up old school. Well, he brought up RuneScape. He just kind of mentioned it on the side, and you can I'm pretty sure he plays this game. Now, the part that I felt was all too relatable is when, I don't know, has any of you guys ever found yourself in a situation where you reference RuneScape? Maybe you think the person you're talking to either plays it or they're familiar, and they instantly have no idea what you're talking about. It gets very embarrassing, and all you want to do is just change the topic to something else. But now they're curious. They're like, no, what are you talking about? And they pry a little bit, but the more they pry, the more nerdy they realize whatever it is you mentioned, whatever it is that you mentioned that you were talking about. They realize how nerdy it is. So yeah, let me play the clip.
You be finessing on RuneScape.
What's that? What's RuneScape? You mean escape room? No? What's RuneScape? It's a
Jamie,
game?
it's just Jamie, bro. You over
What
there?
is it? What is RuneScape? Oh, RuneScape. Oh, so this is like some fantasy type shit?
We're gonna
Like,
stop.
I'm gonna
Come
cast
on,
a
let's
spell
stop.
on you.
Come on, can we stop?
Look at this. You
Let's
thought
get
I
back
would be
into
into this?
real
You thought I
life.
would be into this?
Let's get back in
Now
real
I'm
life.
insulted. I was fine until now. Now I'm like, what the fuck
RuneScape?
happened? Yeah, what is that?
Bro, these finessing been making so much money off RuneScape for years.
Oh, I'm sure. People make money off all kinds of things.
That's not cool. For real. No, I'm being honest. Like, that's not cool, man. Like, the RuneScape, like, with how it happened with
I'm
video
sure
games.
it's awesome.
No. See, that's the thing. I wish I was on the other side of the fence. Yeah, let me get some of that.
Why do you wish you were on the other side of the fence?
Because I ain't getting none of that RuneScape money.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So RuneScape is just super popular, but it's a game you love? You like it? Why would you think I'd be playing it then? You're shaking your head no.
Anyways, the clip kind of ends there, but you can kind of see where Danny had mentioned it. For whatever reason, maybe he thought Joe actually did play RuneScape, and then Joe instantly follows up with the escape. Are you talking about an escape rune? And you can see how Danny instantly wants to pivot. He's like, let's get back to talking about real life stuff. And it's a situation that I feel like has been quite relatable in just my life, like growing up and stuff. It goes back all the way as early as when I first found out about the game. It's a story I've talked about before, and I think even a few episodes ago, but I was at a soccer camp. I used to go every year. So you would meet these people and you would see them every year at this soccer camp, but we never really interacted outside of it. And, but every year you'd see them. And I remember one year they mentioned this new game, RuneScape. They're all playing RuneScape, these three guys. And it sounded interesting. I didn't have internet though, so I wasn't really able to play it until I had, I'd gone to my dad's. My parents were split at the time. So it was either at my dad's or at my grandparents where I did have access to internet, which is when I was able to actually play it. So I went and played the game. And then I didn't see these guys until the next summer. And then when I brought it up, hey, do you guys play RuneScape? Here I am thinking that they're going to say, oh yeah, like they've continued to play it. They've gotten deeper into it. That's not what happened. What happened was they stopped playing it. They thought the game was for like little kids. They thought it was like kind of a dumb game. And I instantly had to like backpedal. I was like, yeah, I totally agree. It is a dumb game. Who still plays that? So that the experience from that clip goes back as far as to like when I first learned about the game. But I remember it happened all the time. I remember being in high school, and in high school at this point, everyone, like a lot of my friend groups stopped playing RuneScape, and they all had moved to like other games, namely World of Warcraft. That was like the new thing. Everybody was playing it. The graphics were better. It was more interactive. It wasn't just point and click. You had to use your keyboard. It was just like a more. At the time, it was a deeper game. Like there's guilds built into it, and there's raids and dungeons. It was it was like a deeper game back then. This was like 2005, 2004. And I remember I was in grade 10. I was in science class. I was still playing RuneScape because I was obsessed. Still am. I did play a little bit of World of Warcraft, but I still played RuneScape, and a lot of my friends knew that, so they would kind of poke fun that I'm still deep into this this game that not pixelated, this how the graphics look in RuneScape. So when you compare the two, it's it's a bit different. The topic of like elves or something got brought up, and I decided to turn around and make fun of one of my friends for playing World of Warcraft. And then he instantly flipped it and kind of made fun of me for playing RuneScape. And then I was sitting next to this girl, and I remember she was like, "Ew, you play like RuneScape?" And she kind of like recoiled a little bit. And I was like, well, I mean, I have played. I don't really play it. But I had friends and they were like, no, he plays it all the time. And she's like, wow, like my little brother plays that game. And it was super embarrassing. I remember I was like super embarrassed. And I wanted nothing more than for that conversation to switch. So when I heard that clip, I saw it posted on Reddit actually. And I was like, man, is that so relatable? What sucks more is when you're on like a podcast that's being delivered to how many millions of people, and all you want to do is get out of this conversation about RuneScape. But when I watched that clip, I was like, I can relate so much. So, I mean, if anyone can recall a time that they felt the same way, feel free to call in. Tell me about your experience. Would love to hear about it, because I feel like a lot of us have been there. And I mentioned I'm at the in-laws now, and I'm so deep into these like nerdy games that sometimes I find myself talking about them. And it can be hard to talk about these little hobbies you're into without you going too deep and it becoming like a really nerdy conversation. I don't know how to explain it, but when I've talked to people about RuneScape who don't play RuneScape, and I don't talk about like boss drops or this or that, but there's a few things that I always felt was like that makes people kind of interested about the topic, and it usually relates to like how much items can be worth in real life values, like a twisted bow. You can go look up what's the conversion rate from like US dollars to in-game gold. And then you can convert that to like a T-bow, and you see a T-bow is like, what, $500 or something? I've no idea. I'm just guessing. That's kind of crazy to think about. That there's like in-game items that are worth this much money. And it's like, it's kind of an interesting topic. And not only that, but when you realize that like, there's a lot of players from Venezuela, they're going through a really tough time economically right now. And they have been for the past few years. Like they've been dealing with hyperinflation. So much so that a lot of people have turned to RuneScape to make real life money. And we see that with a lot of people gold farming. And that concept's like really interesting, that people don't play this game for fun. They play it to actually make a living. So it can be kind of a deeper topic. And Planet Money is a economics podcast. It's really good. But they did an episode about gold farming, and they talk about the Rev Caves too, the original Rev Caves, and how it was being used to make in-game gold that would be then exchanged for real life money. And then the episode goes into like how clans were locking these caves down, and they were charging people access to use them, and they would give you protection, but then other people were hunting these people from Venezuela who are gold farming. And it's like this crazy story of like, the story of RuneScape is breaking out of the game into the real world. And when I was in college I went to school for like an audio production program. This was 2018 is when I went in. So I was doing this podcast. I really liked the podcast, and I was having a lot of fun doing it. And I hated my job in construction. I kind of wanted to see if I could make a career out of it. So I went to school for audio production, and I remember we had this like interview process with one of our instructors, and they just wanted to get to know you, what your goals were, what are you doing in this industry outside of like schooling or work. And so the topic of this podcast, the Wilderness podcast that I do, got brought up, and she was like very interested, and then started talking about the game. And I was like, how do I talk about this game that I talk about every week without it just boiling down to like how do I make someone who's not into this game or games in general interested? So I began talking about how many people are playing it, and how we have these, like, we used to at least have these giant Rune Fest. We have these content creators who get hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of views. They make their living off of this. There was the YouTuber, a friend, who, he still is quite popular, but he was making a fair bit of money. And I remember there was an article shared about him from Lithuania about how successful he is. And he makes like, he's like in the top 1% of that country or something for how much income is bringing in. And it's like, it's quite interesting. So yeah, anyone who's found themselves talking about this game to people who don't play this game, I want to hear your story. How did it go? What are you talking about? Do people actually get interested in some of it? My wife makes fun of me because the only thing she knows about this game is fancy boots. So whenever anything about RuneScape brings up, she goes like, "Oh, is fancy boots involved?" That's all she knows. I guess she was looking at the Etsy store, and you can buy actual fancy boots there. But anyways, let's talk about what have I been up to since we last recorded, actually within the game itself. So I think last episode I mentioned how I was going deep into my Snowflake Ultimate Iron Man account. It's this account I've been working on for a little bit now, on and off, and it is basically a skiller account. But the restrictions are I can't train any combat skill except for defense. So no HP, nothing else except for defense. And the end goal of the account has to do with its defense level. So getting to 40 defense for full rune or 70 defense for barrows eventually, maybe. Stuff like that. So it was a fun account to work on. Things were a little bit slow, but there's a lot of problem solving involved. How do I complete some quests without dying because I only have 10 HP? Or how do I level up my defense without leveling anything else up? How do I kill things? There's all these like problems I had to figure out answers for. And I had a lot of fun doing it. I've mentioned the past 2 episodes now how I enjoyed it and the little things I've been working on, and it was fun. And really one of the things that got me interested in starting it back up was I've been waiting for this item that we're going to talk about probably briefly, because we're going to talk about it now, actually. It's this poison dynamite I've been waiting for. So this poison dynamite is an item that is meant only for 10 HP accounts. It's meant to be a way to kill creatures without gaining experience. And the reason for that is because however long ago, a while ago, there was a bug in the game where you were able to actually kill monsters without gaining experience. And the way it worked is I might be messing up some of the details, but hopefully I'm getting it close enough. But the tick that a monster spawns, if you click it, the tick that it spawns, you have like 1 or 2 ticks that you can hit it before any experience will be delivered. So what you can do is with a poisoned weapon of some sorts, you can attack a monster as soon as they spawn, and you hope you damage it and you hope you poison it, and then you can let it die, and boom, you've killed the monster without ever gaining experience. That was the way it worked. They were coming out with some new update, and then as they were doing it, they were fixing some bugs as they always do, and then that bug itself was kind of like collateral. It ended up getting patched that trick no longer worked. And it created this like weird problem, I guess, for these 10 HP accounts where they just like no longer kill things, which means there are certain quests they couldn't do, there are certain items they couldn't grind for. It was like an indirect nerf to how a lot of these accounts were planning on playing. And which I guess it's not a big deal. You put these restrictions on yourself. It was a bug in the first place, but there is a fair community that is into these 10 HP accounts. I'm in 2 communities myself. There's one called Snowflakes, which is for any Snowflake account. So it's not just 10 HP accounts, but there are a ton of 10 HP accounts there. And there's another one called the 10 Hit Points server. So these 2 servers, and the 10 Hit Points server has, as I'm looking at it now, it's got a couple hundred people. Yeah, about 500 people to 1,000 on this server. So it's a fair sized community, but it's not like it's not a big portion of players who are into these 10 HP accounts, but it's enough that like Jagex felt that this nerf impacted this community and they should find a way to kind of make good, bring a way for these players to be able to kill monsters without gaining experience. So it's a very niche item, and that's where this poison dynamite was planned to come out. So I was very much looking forward to that. It would let me kill some things. I didn't have to worry about gaining experience to try to poison them. And another thing that's kind of weird is like, I have access to Rings of Recoil. That's 50 damage you can get off. But the problem is that it counts as neutral damage. So if you kill something with Rings of Recoil and you don't do any actual damage with a weapon, it doesn't count as, you don't get the drop. And this is okay for like certain quests. You can use recoils to like kill them because you don't need to get the kill specifically. This thing just needs to die for you to progress the quest. So that's okay for those, but there's a lot of things that I wasn't able to do, like wanting to complete druidic ritual. And we have to kill, I think you have to kill a rat for some rat meat, or no, it was a bear. The bear is the only thing that you can't find a workaround. So you have to kill them, and rings of recoil won't work. So this poison dynamite was a way for it to come in and you can actually kill them. And I was really excited for it. So I started playing again. I started farming a bunch of items so that I could make this dynamite when it came out. So that I was getting noted dynamite from Wintertodt. I was farming belladonna seeds farming belladonna seeds from imps, from farming contracts, from pickpocketing. And those things there are kind of, to farm them, to grind those items out was a bit of a pain in the ass. But it's fine because I was going to get this new item. I was going to have a bunch of them so I could go do a bunch of stuff. And I prepped almost every single diary. I've prepped them all. So a lot of the diaries to complete easy require you to kill something. So I completed all of them except for the task where I had to kill things because I was waiting for this dynamite to come out. Anyways, when it released, I thought it was going to be great. I was so excited for it, but it is clunky. And I wasted over a week's worth of prep trying to kill sand crabs for the Kourend diary, and I didn't kill a single one of them. I used like over 20 different dynamites. I was very frustrated. And then I read on the wiki and I realized the way it works is very strange because it blows up in like a 3x3 tile, but the monster needs to be on the southwest tile or something like that. And then even then it's a very low percentage that it's going to hit. And then if it does hit, there's a 25% chance that it's going to get poisoned. So you have all these variables and it just makes it so much harder to kill with it. And I was frustrated and I felt very burnt out. And then I logged out and I have not logged back in since. So I mean, I'm sure I'll continue it again. I'll get another burst of motivation, but I was very salty about that. And I was like, you know what? I am not spending that long grinding these items again just for it to not work. I had 25 dynamite. Like that should be enough. And it wasn't to kill one thing. It's a sand crab. Although admittedly, sand crabs have a lot of HP, but I had a lot more things to kill. And anyways, I was frustrated. So I had logged out and I haven't been on since. Which also in turn means not a whole lot of RuneScape. Like I mentioned, I'm at the in-laws for the holidays. We're recording this podcast. I brought my whole setup with me. I've taken over with a little family room up there. But I haven't playing as much RuneScape as I normally do. But when I do play now, it has been on my main and it's just doing a bit of PVMing, a little bit here and there, and that sort of fun stuff. But I've been burnt because of the poison dynamite. Oh, I was looking so forward to it. They just couldn't make it good, could they? Anyways, anyways, that's it from my end. Let's head over and see what we have to talk about in the news because boy, oh boy, did you hear the beginning? We have a lot to talk about. We know what's coming in 2023 and that's quite exciting. So let's get into it. All right, we are back. Let's talk about some news. So we got the Garden of Death, a new quest that is part of the Twisted Tales saga. So the Twisted Tales are a bunch of these smaller quests and they kind of stand alone, but in a way they all are working towards this final giant quest that we're going to get. But these Twisted Tales are, some of the other quests that are related to the houses. So Depths of Despair, the Queen of Thieves, Ascent of Arceus, and the Forsaken Tower. Did I get all four of them? I think I'm probably missing one off the top of my head, and I don't feel like looking it up. So the Garden of Death is being added as well. So I'll be honest, I have not had a chance to actually do it, and I told myself I would be doing it because this quest sounds awesome. It really, really does. Let me read through the description. In our newest Twisted Tale, you'll piece together a long-lost language and unravel the mystery of some ancient ruins. Welcome, adventurer, to the Garden of Death. That's so metal. The Garden of Death. This quest contains no dialogue. It focuses solely on environmental storytelling. So make sure that you set aside some time, prepare to be fully immersed in the world around you. I love questing in this game. One of my biggest gripes is that the storytelling, when it's done through dialogue, tends to not feel the strongest. Even if the writing is good, I think the strengths of the storytelling in this game are when it's through the environments and things you interact with and stuff of that nature. So this quest sounds awesome. I'm upset I haven't done it yet, but we'll have to do it for next week's episode. A quest containing no dialogue and focuses on the environmental storytelling. What does that even mean? It sounds great. It reminds me of the BoJack Horseman episode where he goes underwater. If you've seen that episode, if you've seen that show before, quite interesting. And I've actually heard it's good. Next, we got a Stimmy check. That's right. We got a bunch of experience rewarded to us because most of us may have completed a quest or two under the Master and Grandmaster tier. So they've decided, hey, these quests are a bitch to do, and the rewards and experience gained from it does not make up for how much work is involved with this actual quest itself. So they wanted the experience rates to match kind of how much time and effort is spent into completing these quests, which means a lot of quests got a huge multiplier. And I think when it comes to like just gaining pure experience, a lot of people aren't going to vote no for that. Whether it's good for the game or not, people don't even care. Give me more experience is what they say. So to give an example, not everything was altered, but a lot was. So Beneath Cursed Sands, the quest gives you 20k agility experience, and they decided let's pump that up to 50k agility experience. That's more than double. Right? The Fremennik Exiles, you would get 15k Slayer crafting and 5k rune crafting experience. They said, let's bump 15k, let's make it 50. 50 for Slayer and crafting. 5,000 rune craft experience, let's make that 30,000. So a lot of these quests got huge buffs. And if you've completed these quests already, go talk to Purdue. Go on either the wiki or probably go look at this dev blog itself. It's on the OSRS and it's labeled The Garden of Death and More. So find that dev blog, scroll down, it'll give you a chart of who you can talk to get these rewards to you. But it's Purdue, Radimus Urkel from the Legends Guild, the mysterious stranger outside the Theater of Blood, and Ivan Strom, who is in the Mire Ditch hideout, but he also moves around if you've completed some quests. I forget which one. I think it's probably the Sins of the Father. So you might have to find them. But they'll give you all the experience you need. You will get a bunch if you've completed all the quests. Next up is the combat achievements. Got a rewards expansion. I know Heartless would agree that the rewards beforehand were kind of, they're meh. Not super exciting. These are a little bit better. I know Heartless says that some of these are very overpowered. But funny enough for me, none of these are like super exciting. They're all cool. They're great. Awesome. 200% bonus for warrior tokens from the Warriors Guild. Yeah, it seems cool, I guess. Nothing too exciting. There's nothing that gets me super excited for, but there are some really good ones where it's like the thralls that you can summon from the Arceus spellbook now last 2 times as long. That seems decent. Like that's the thing. When you get to this like high level gameplay, these, like, to me, I look at them, that's such a minor change. 2 times as long. Okay, what? You save 6 prayer points because you don't have to cast it every minute. You cast it once every 2 minutes. So that's, 6 prayer points per cast. But then when you get to the end game, they see it as, well, this is going to save me 1, maybe 2 prayer potions, which means I'm going to have an additional 1 or 2 slots in my inventory for something else. This could be another weapon. This could be some other item, some different foods or another brew. And all that sort of stuff. That's huge when you're farming some specific boss or you're out there doing Theater of Blood with thralls or whatever it is. So this is huge for that sort of stuff. On paper, it always like, okay, that doesn't seem like that big of a deal. But when you get to this end game stuff, having access to 1 or 2 or maybe even more inventory slots, that could be a big deal. But there's a whole bunch of them. I'm not going to go through. We went through in a previous episode, but you'll have to. But you might. There's a lot. There's a lot of. Some of them are like very minor, but Hey, look at this. Your cannon can hold 35 cannonballs. That's, again, to me, I'm like, okay, that's cool. Not super game changing, but it's one of those things where you like add up this extra 5 cannonballs. It's going to be huge down the road. So pretty cool stuff there. And the reason they did decide to add some more rewards at this time is because they also came out with some Tombs of Emasculate Combat achievements. A lot of people have felt these were like meh achievements because they do fall into the medium combat achievement category, which is kind of weird because it is like kind of an end game raid, right? So it's kind of weird to kind of place it there. Next up here is the Poison Dynamite. I have mentioned it, but you need dynamite and you need some belladonna that you put with it, 3 of them to be specific. And it allows you to light this little bomb and it will blow up in a 3x3 square and you could kill them. Or you could do damage and or poison them, which will help you kill them. Now, they did come back and they said, hey, we understand that people complain this is a bit clunky. We're going to try to figure out a way to fix it. So they did come back to say that. And the Wilderness Boss rework is getting pushed back. It's supposed to come out this year. This year is practically over. So we could it's coming out in January now, it looks like. So we can, that's kind of expected. But what's kind of cool is they teased Venenatis, Callisto, and Vedion. Oh, those are the only 3 bosses. I thought there was a 4th boss. Am I mixing up with Scorpia? I guess so. Anyways, on top of like this new little bit of a design, there's a graphical redesign coming to a lot of these, and Venenatis, Vedion, and Callisto, they look really cool. They're going to look awesome when they're released. So coming out in January, okay, fine. If it's the first week of January, that would be awesome because I have that week off of work. I would love to dive in and do some PKing and PVMing on these monsters. So that would be awesome. Okay, we got the boring stuff out of the way. Let's talk about the exciting stuff. And by exciting stuff, I'm talking about the 2022 Winter Summit. They came out with 6 announcements that are coming out in 2023. So you might be wondering, like, what is this Winter Summit? I haven't heard of a summit before. It's the second time that they've done one of these summits, and really every year they would hold this Rune Fest event, and it was this festival in the UK, and it had everything from, they had like a bar, they had a gaming area, they had a bunch of different shows going on. So they'd have like a live concert from maybe the London Symphony, I think, did it one year. They would do like a cooking show where people were competing to make these in-game dishes. It was like a whole weekend event, and they had like 6 different stages. I have never been able to go, but I would sit at home and watch it on Twitch, and I would just look at all 6 different stages, see what they were doing, and they would do stuff like open panels to talk about boss design. They would have a panel to talk about lore in the game and talk about questing and all that sort of stuff. And then again, this was for RuneScape 3 and Old School. So you had different events going on for each of the games. Sometimes both of them were kind of combined for something else. So it honestly seemed like a really great time. If I was in high school and you told me about RuneFest, I would not go anywhere near it because I would have been afraid to like look like a giant nerd going to one of these things. I don't want to go to a room full of people playing RuneScape. But now that I'm older and I don't care, and I've embraced my inner nerd, my inner RuneScaper, the RuneFest looks awesome. And everyone I talk to is gone. They say it is a great time. It becomes a giant party at the end of the night where, again, they have a bar there so you can get some beers and you can drink, and then you can go look at everything else. At one point before mobile was released, you could go to a test station and test out the mobile client. It just seems like a really awesome time. But on top of it being like this big celebration and party for the game, this is where they would do their big keynote announcements for what you can expect in the upcoming year. And so this is where we heard about Dragon Slayer 2. This is where we heard about Theater of Blood, the Song of the Elves. They would just mention all of their big named updates that were going to come out at this event. And it was fun and it was exciting. And they did it for RuneScape 3 and Old School. So you'd have your RuneScape 3 panel and there'd be Old School doing their announcements. But I would even watch the RuneScape 3 announcements because they were awesome. Some of them were really cool. One year they mentioned having a weather system in the game. And this weather system was going to be so robust. It would be so dynamic. It would dynamically change the environment of places. They said, how cool would it be if Karamja got a massive flood, maybe a tsunami, or rainstorms, like a typhoon or something, where it would just flood the island and maybe it cooled down that volcano. What would happen? And this would change things in the environment. And then they wanted to bring out a new type of magic. Maybe this would be a new combat skill, or maybe it'd be added onto the magic skill, where you could then use this weather and the environment to cast magic. Maybe you channel, I don't know, some sort of electric energy from like a storm, or maybe there's a tornado that you can channel and you can take control of the tornado and use it to attack monsters. Anyways, that never actually came out. I'm saying this now and I'm like, that sounds cool. How do you even add that into the game? I don't even know. And they probably realized the same thing as they try to add it, being like, who the hell's idea was it to pitch? We can't do this. We can't flood it. We can't like randomly generate a flood for an island and that's going to affect the volcano and the people living on it. You know how much work that would cause? And then the flood would go away and it would all go back to how it used to be. It was quite an ambitious idea. But still, hearing it and hearing them explain it got me excited. And, maybe people take inspiration from that for some of their projects. RuneScape 3 also pitched removing the tick system or reducing it, where it feels like there's no, a lot of the times when we play this game, you click and you can tell there's a delay. This game is like a pseudo turn-based system. RuneScape 3, they wanted to make it more seamless. So when you clicked or you moved, like World of Warcraft, when you move with World of Warcraft, there's no delay. You push W to move forward. Your guy moves forward right away. RuneScape, we know, we click. Sometimes there's a bit of a delay before you actually do anything. So they wanted to remove that as well. Did they end up doing that? No, not quite. But they are still working on it because every now and then I look into it. But my point is, it was fun to hear these giant announcements. Meet 2020 comes around and this thing called COVID hits the world and it shuts down like every event in the world. And RuneFest, of course, you can't have RuneFest when there's a pandemic going around. So they stopped doing RuneFest. And instead they decided, you know what, we'll do this virtual event instead. And in a way, it was the announcements, the keynote announcements you would get at RuneFest. It was brought to the virtual stage, presented on YouTube and Twitch. And it was all, condensed down to about 2 hours. And they would do their big updates then. So the first of these summits happened in the summer of 2021. We mentioned that most of 2021 and 2022, but that's okay. They're a bit of a stinker in terms of updates. So 2021, the summer of 2021, they decided to kind of share with us what they had planned. And here they announced 4 updates. This was a Deadman mode rerun, the 3rd installment of Leagues, the Shattered Relics. It was group Iron Man mode. And of course, Raids 3, the Tombs of Amascut. So that's what they announced there. It's very, pretty hyped. Everyone was quite excited for what was to come. And, well, the summer of 2022 went by and we didn't get our summit. And honestly, I was wondering, what's happened? Why didn't we get one? I'm not sure why we didn't get one, but they did plan it for the winter, December 10th. So that's where we are today to talk about it. So let's talk about some of the things that they have coming out. I never know if I should start with the strongest and go to the weakest or build up to the final announcement. But so we'll start off. We'll just do it in the order that they announced it. So they saved the best for last. There are some fun things to talk about. There are some random things to talk about. I don't know. Anyways, let's start off with the first announcement, and that is called Forestry, the Way of the Forester. So what this announcement is, the way they pitched it at first, I thought this was going to be a new mini game for woodcutting. That's what it is. They're revamping woodcutting in a sense. Maybe revamping is not the right word, but I thought this was going to be a new Temperos, a new Guardians of the Rift, a new Wintertodt. And I was like, I recorded an OSRS Rambles episode with Hoyt a bit ago, talking about what I felt was a problem in the design of having these sectioned off activities, things like what I just mentioned, Guardians of the Rift, Wintertodt, Temperos, and then Giants Foundry. There's a bunch of them, right? And it just feels like it's turning the sandbox game into a theme park, because how do you train? Before you used to interact with the world and you could use your skills to interact, but it was starting to feel like in order to make some of these skills fun, the way to train it was by going to do this activity that was separated and sectioned off from the rest of the game. Now, don't get me wrong, I love these activities. Temperos, Wintertodt. A lot of people don't like Wintertodt. I love Wintertodt. One of the things I loved the most on my Snowflake UIM was doing Wintertodt. It was so much fun. Even Temperos. It's like meh overall, but boy, oh boy, when I'm relaxing at night before bed, listening to one of my favorite podcasts, I love to do Temperos before bed because there's no risk. I don't got to worry about screwing up or falling asleep and dying. I just, the worst case scenario is you don't get a whole lot of points, don't get a lot of rewards. So I really enjoy these activities. So when they came out with this forestry announcement, I was like, you know what? Hell yeah, this looks awesome. And they gave even this little trailer where it zoomed in this forest and you had this one individual who was cutting down a tree by themselves. Great. And then it zoomed up, moved to somewhere else in the forest, and there was like a group of players who were like mass deforestation. They were just taking down this entire forest, and it looked awesome. The people who are like chopping down like the rainforest, I used to read articles and hear on the news all the time about how the rainforest is just getting like chopped down real quick. The people who are involved would be so proud of forestry in old school RuneScape, because that's what it was. It looked like a bunch of people just taking out every single tree in a forest. So what they announced was it really sounds like they're revamping woodcutting, because right now when woodcutting is a very like individualistic activity, you don't want to do it in a world with other people. So if you can find a world where no one else is woodcutting, that's what you want, because you don't want the more people who are chopping the same tree, the faster it's going to fall down. That kind of sucks. So it's very anti-social if you want to be efficient. But what they want to do, and this is what they announced, they want to revamp it so that there's actual benefits from cutting down the same tree as a team. It'll last longer. Maybe experience rates will scale. And they talked about this you can bring this kit with you called the Forestry Kit. And with it, we'll have some tools that you can use. But really, you'll be cutting down these trees. And if you have your Forestry Kit with you, random events will happen when you chop down trees. And this kit will allow you to interact with these people. You might meet these like wood elf creatures that I think they call them dryads. I don't know. They're in other games too. I'm probably mispronouncing it, but dryads, these wood elves, leprechauns, maybe. Just like you'll interact with these new these events that can happen randomly when you cut down these trees, and the more people that are doing it, the more often they'll happen. Really, and that's basically it boiled down. There's a bunch of new rewards you'll get, like the idea of a two-handed axe. Sounds like a chainsaw to me. That sounds friggin' sweet. That sounds awesome. And the next thing you know, you need to like an oil refining skills, because you need to get oil to power up your chainsaw. And look at that, Gillenor is now in the industrial age. But it sounds great. I may have mentioned it over the years, but I love random events. And in other games, when a game has random encounters, I friggin' love it. I think it's so cool. Like Skyrim, Fallout 4, Fallout 3, the other Elder Scrolls games, really those open world Bethesda games. So I hear a lot of people talk shit sometimes saying it's buggy, they're not that great, they're very formulaic. I love them. I've bought Skyrim like 4 times. Like whenever they release a new version, everyone's like, "Wow, they're just such like they're bleeding this. What are they? They're milking this cow dry." But I'm that person who's going out to buy it again for the 5th time. So you guys can blame me. It's my fault. But I love the random encounters you get in Skyrim and Fallout 4. You'll just be traveling from one city to another, and you'll bump into like 4 guards escorting a prisoner to the city, and you can do something about it, or you can do nothing and just watch them go by. Maybe the prisoner will break free, and then you can help the guards by capturing him, or you can help the prisoner by killing the other guards. It's awesome. there's this random event, and many of us who've played Skyrim have probably encountered it, but you'll be just traveling and this dude will run up to you and he'll say, take this item. I'll come grab it from you later. Please just take it. People are looking for me. And he'll give you an item and you can decide to take it. And then if you do, later on, as you're moving, you'll bump into these guards or like these watchmen who are like, hey, we're looking for this person. Have you seen them? And then you have the option. Do you give them the item that they're looking for? Do you tell them where the guy went, or do you tell them nothing? And none of this really does anything to further any quests or further the story or the world. They're just these encounters that bring this whole level of immersion to it. And I'm a huge fan of it. Like I wish I would love like a random event update or something where we got more of it, or even what we have in the game now. I love when you encounter these random NPCs interacting. It doesn't even have to be with you, but I love like the dig site, how it has people constantly traveling from the dig site to the Varrock Museum. They're bringing stuff. They're working. They're doing stuff. It just brings so much more life to the world. So really excited for this forestry update. Really looking forward to it, and I'm glad that they wanted to make the foundation, the essence of what the woodcutting skill is. They wanted to make it fun. So they didn't want to add this new activity that was separated from everything else. They wanted you cutting down trees to be more fun and to be more social. And that is awesome. I'm so into that. All right, we're starting off strong, aren't we? Well, you guys are going to be disappointed because the next two they're kind of a stinker. But the positive part is we can get through them real quick. So next up is the official account build support. What does that mean? Well, if you're someone who like me and you love making a bunch of different accounts and maybe like making weird accounts, like not a normal iron, not a normal main, not a normal UIM. You like to make the weird accounts. Maybe you like to make a pure, you like to make snowflake accounts, whatever it is. There's so many that you could create. Well, anyways, Jagex wants to bring official support to these other game modes. And basically, the way they're pitching on doing this is you're going to be able to lock certain skills from ever gaining experience. So if you want to be a 1 defense pure, you can lock your defense level at level 1, and then you can go and gain defense experience, and you don't need to worry about leveling up your defense. So you can do there's so many quests that you can't do because it will reward you defense levels. Now you can complete them. You can complete Dragon Slayer 1. Right? That's a huge quest that you can't complete because it gives you like 30k experience. You can't go back to Ape Atoll because to do so after completing Monkey Madness 1, you'll gain a bunch of experience. What this also means is that sounds like you can do Monkey Madness 2 now. You can get the heavy ballista on your pier. Like there's a bunch of quests you're locked out on. And it might not be just for these type of accounts. It might be for like 10 HP accounts as well, like my Snowflake Ultimate Iron Man I mentioned earlier. It's just going to be a way that they're going to officially support a multitude of different account builds. So they have decided to support account builds, specific account builds like Iron Man and Ultimate Iron Man, right? That used to be a game mode that people just self-imposed on themselves. They limited it themselves on their own. They didn't need Jagex introducing this game mode, but then Jagex saw so many people enjoyed these YouTube series and all these people doing it. Let's bring the real game mode to the game, and boom, there it is. And it's quite popular. Now, my thoughts on this is mixed feelings. On one hand, there are a bunch of annoying things I can't do on my pure that I would like to be able to do. It sucks that I can't use long ranged on any ranged weapons. Long range gives you a longer range to shoot people from. So many times somebody's getting away from me and I'm fighting them and I'm like, man, if I could just turn on long range to get a few more shots on, I'd be able to kill them. But I can't because I'm going to gain defense experience. And a few times I forgot and I almost gained that defense level. So I would love to be able to do that. Or there's certain weapons that I can't use that would be cool to like have access to, like spears. There's no way to fight with a spear without gaining defense experience. I don't know why I would ever use a spear, but I'm just saying that's an example. I'm sure there's some weapons that would be awesome to use, but you can't because the defense level that you would get from it. So I like the idea of not having to worry about accidentally shooting on long range and boom, now you got your defense level. This one time I met someone who was bursting in the catacombs. They were using the ice barrage or ice bursting, sorry, to kill a bunch of monsters because one, it's fast experience. It's really fast experience for both Slayer and your magic and HP. But they accidentally misclicked and they trained their defense and they went from level 0 to like level 17 defense in one cast, something like that. And I was talking to them afterwards and they were wrecked. That sucks. It sucks. You make a little mistake like that and you've ruined your account build. So being able to lock your skill for stuff like that would be nice. On the other hand, having access to like virtually any quest, I don't know how I feel about that, because one of the things that I think the one thing I love about making all these different accounts is I love sitting down and planning what I need to do. On my Ultimate Ironman, I went through like every quest. What quests can I do? What can't I do? What give defense experience? And all these things, like what can I do? What am I able to do and what am I not able to do? It was a fun process. And then from there, you map out what's the order of these things I want to get done. I really enjoyed that. I love the planning process of that. The strategizing is awesome. Same with my Pure. I loved strategizing what quests I could do and what quests do I need to do and what could I get like some bonus. There's a few quests that aren't super important to do. I think it's like Olaf's quest, but you get access to a helmet afterwards, which is like has a decent defense experience. So like having to strategize what quests you can do and what you can't do is a ton of fun, I find. Being able to just freely do any quest removes part of that planning process a little bit, because I had to make sure the quests I did weren't going to give me defense experience and all that sort of stuff. And if I can just turn off the ability to get experience, well, then I'm just going to do every single quest I can do. And that seems a little bit less fun in terms of if you're less, I don't know. This might not be true, but I feel like I'd be less proud of my account because I didn't have to sit there and plan out right now, like my Pure, like all the stats and stuff. I planned everything. I didn't just go do them. And I made sure I have 89 strength for a reason. I chose to get there. I didn't get lazy and bored and just stop training it at that level. That was my goal, is 89, because I know I can hit pretty high with melee weapons and any more strength levels will just give me combat. And it won't be giving me as many max hits. Like you have the trade-off. You have the trade-off. Do I want to do more damage, but get more combat levels? So I hit this point where 89 was my sweet spot. Same with range. 95 range is the last level I need so that I can hit 95 range is the last level that I get a max hit with the weapons that I use, which is the magic short bow and the rune crossbow. Other range weapons might be different. I don't use them though, so I don't care. So everything was planned, and it's really cool when it's there and you're like, my account's maxed, basically. It's a little bit different when you can just you don't have to plan as much, I think. So I'm not 100% sure how I feel about it, and I think people are the same. A lot of people don't like this, but you know how people are in this game. They can be selfish. I don't play other restricted accounts, so I don't want this in the game. I don't think that's a great way to look at it. I just official support is awesome, but being able to just turn off experience gains and being able to do any quest you want, will that ruin what makes these unique account builds special? It might not. Maybe having these imposed will allow me to really min-max my Pure to another level that I enjoy way more. I don't know, to be honest. So I have mixed feelings on it. But I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Especially if you're someone who has a Pure and stuff. What do you think about this? Do you like it? Do you not like it? And then next up is, I don't even know what we call this one. They call it the tech update. So there is some account security they're working on, and client features, and the mobile client they're working on with some more RuneLite features coming to the mobile client, blah, 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 blah. Bunch of tech mumbo jumbo. Now, the cool thing that looks this looks kind of cool. They are introducing this system called you can make the Jagex launcher is what they call it. It's already out. You can already do it. And from the Jagex launcher, you can load up RuneLite or the vanilla client. But you can officially launch RuneLite from the Jagex launcher, which is awesome. But their plan is to make it so that you can have multiple different accounts under, like all within your Jagex launcher profile, I guess. I'm probably not explaining it too well. But the idea is like you have 10 different accounts with different emails, fine. But you could have them all attached so that if you want to jump onto your other peer, it might be as simple as just kind of like, you know how we world hop? You just click on a world and you change worlds like that. Changing accounts might be as simple as that. Sort of. You probably might have to log out. But the point is, it's going to make it jumping between different accounts a little bit easier, which, okay, I'm into that. But that was like the only cool takeaway I find. Okay, we got those 2 boring segments out of the way, but we got some big ones coming next. So the next update is an update that they've already pitched at a RuneFest, which is really funny. But anyways, I was hyped when they did pitch this. Planned for spring 2023, they want to drop Bounty Hunter on us. This is a PvP activity that used to be in the game, but they removed it. So what Bounty Hunter is, what it was at least, was you'd go to Edgeville, you would go into the wilderness, it would randomly select another player that you could fight, and you guys could fight each other. And if you did fight each other, you had a chance at winning an emblem. And this emblem would continue to grow if you kept killing targets that you got from the Bounty Hunter system. And the more you killed, this emblem would keep getting bigger and better. And then you could exchange it for points, really, or items. So looting bags, the rune pouch, a lot of the items from Last Man Standing, like you could purchase this with these Bounty Hunter emblems. Now, but you didn't just have to fight your targets. You could fight anyone. The only difference is you might not get an emblem from killing them. That was from killing your targets. So it was a really cool system, and it made like the entry level of PvP like very much more casual to get into, which was nice. I don't know. I'm not sure why, but the culture of PvP was a lot more newbie friendly. I did a bunch of Bounty Hunter when I was first learning to PvP on old school RuneScape. I died a bunch, but I did get some kills. People were meh. Like there was a mixed pool of skill levels, which was really nice. Well, of course, people do what they usually do. They find a way to abuse the Bounty Hunter system, and they were farming emblems. And it must have gotten so bad that Jagex felt that they had to fully remove Bounty Hunter from the game to prevent all this gold from being generated. So they did. They removed it, and the people who love Bounty Hunter kind of moved to PvP worlds where you'd fight at the Grand Exchange. But I don't know why exactly, but fighting at the Grand Exchange is way different than Bounty Hunter in Edgeville. People at the Grand Exchange are really good. I've fought a lot of people at the Grand Exchange on my pure. They destroy me every time. Like you get killed so fast that you don't even have time to improve. I do a lot of PKing on my pure. Most of it, if not all of it, is done at the Rev Caves, where fights are much more drawn out. I feel like I have a bigger advantage. Not a bigger advantage, but I can survive long enough that if I do die, I can probably figure out where I went wrong. Oh, I should have spec'd here. I spec'd too early. I ate my food too fast. I should have just teleported because this guy was way better than I was. You name it. Whereas the PvP worlds at the Grand Exchange, I walk out. I don't even know what happens. I get frozen from an ice barrage. Some guy runs up with me, declaw specs into a granite maul, and I'm dead. Like that, stuff like that happens. You get rushed and you're killed so fast, or you just fight somebody friendly and they just switch to a ballista, Gmaul spec into dragon claws or a dragon knife, and you're dead. You die faster than it took me to explain it. So I don't know why things changed, but so they want to bring Bounty Hunter back. And they want to introduce it in a way with these craters. And this craters is an old system. When they removed PvP, so a lot of bouncing around. In 2007, they removed free trade and they removed the wilderness, the PvP from the wilderness, because the gold farming was like a really big problem, and people real world trading, it was so out of hand that they had to take away free trade. go watch the RuneScape documentary. It's on YouTube. It's really good. First off, it's a really good documentary, and it doesn't go super into like a lot of behind the scenes stuff. And they talk about this event where they had to remove the free trade. Anyways, fast forward some years, people really wanted PvP back. So that's when Bounty Hunter first got introduced. And what they did was they had these craters in the wilderness where you'd go in, and it was an arena, and you'd get paired up with someone and you would have to fight them. It was basically how the Bounty Hunter that we know. So they want to bring back this crater idea. And the reason why they want to use the crater, not Edgeville, is because they are aware that the problem of gold farming could come back in these craters. But if players are participating in an activity that is in a new area like the crater and not just in the open world of Edgeville or outside of Edgeville, they can put like new restrictions on there to prevent any problems from happening. It's harder to put these restrictions in like level 1 wilderness and Edgeville because it's just like it's just the world. They're not in a specific area. Whereas this new crater, it'll be an area inside the wilderness, basically. So that's what they want to do. Anyways, I'm quite excited for it because the PvP community has been dying out pretty much. And there's not a lot of jump off points to learn to PvP really. Like you have Last Man Standing in the PvP arena, but those aren't. I learned to PK through Last Man Standing. It was rough. I had to really push through it, and it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun for a really long time. I did get better though, but they want Bounty Hunter to be a little bit easier for people to get to learn to PvP. That's planned in spring. That is quite exciting. What do you think? Well, you're excited. Do you not care? Want to hear it? But now let's get into this. Is not the final announcement, but it should have been because it is wild. Before I explain what this is, let's listen to the trailer that came along with it.
We pray for the security of the Empire, for the safety of our people, sheltered by our Lord's trusted allies. By ice, the Empire is protected.
We pray that our secrets will be kept, that no dark, forgotten vault will relinquish our Lord's greatest treasures. By shadow, the Empire shall persist.
We pray that justice will be dealt and malefactors hunted from realm to realm. May our Lord's judgment never rest. By blood, the Empire will know peace.
We pray that our enemies shall be vanquished, that they shall cower in fear. From the highest mountain to the deepest sea, by smoke, the Empire will be victorious.
We pray that the Empire shall never fall. We pray that the Empire shall never fall. We pray that the Empire shall never fall.
And the truth will be revealed once more.
Make way for the newest quest expected to drop in the summer of 2023, Desert Treasure 2, The Fallen Empire. Man, does that trailer give me goosebumps, and I am so hyped for this. This was a big announcement. One, Desert Treasure 1, is that not one, if not the most iconic quest in the game? Dragon Slayer is definitely, there's arguments to be made that Dragon Slayer holds that spot, but Desert Treasure is definitely up in the top 3. Has to be. I would say it's like tied at number 1 with Dragon Slayer, where Dragon Slayer only has the upper hand because of its free to play. But Desert Treasure unlocking a new spellbook, that's huge. So this is going to be a Grand Master quest. But this quest is not coming alone. they are coming out with another big quest that is going to be launching in January called Secrets of the North. Very, very exciting. This quest will be a prerequisite to Desert Treasure 2. But I love this. So let me just read this paragraph here. So they say, those of you who remember Desert Treasure may recall traveling across all of Gielinor to find 4 diamonds, one for each of the ancient elements: blood, ice, shadow, and smoke. And each one was guarded by 4 fearsome foes. So you had 4 quests to pave the way, introducing 4 new areas to explore, and you best be prepared to fight 4 ferocious new bosses if you have to have even the faintest hope of uncovering the secrets beneath the Caridian Desert. So similarly, this new quest will have 4 new biomes to explore on top of having 4 new bosses, and their plan is for each of these bosses to be farmable with loot after the quest is done. When you complete the quest, you will also get access to a new alternative prayer book called the Ruinous Powers. A new prayer book. I'm excited for that. Now, they said that these will not be curses. If you don't know, this in 2009, they came out with ancient curses, which would allow you to switch your prayer book to these curses. And they had a bunch of new, they're mostly offensive curses. And the idea was the trade-off was like you took a little bit more damage and you dealt a little bit more damage, or maybe you did a little bit healing with your attacks, whatever it was. But it removed the protection prayers from it. These will not be curses. They're going to be something entirely new and entirely balanced altogether. Now, I kind of like the idea of curses. So I think we're going to see a few things stolen from it, but they're going to balance it, because the problem was a lot of these curses were overpowered. And with new weapons coming out, it just made a huge mess of the meta. And a lot of people, I think, look back to it and be like, yeah, it was kind of problematic a little bit. So I think they're going to try to avoid that with these new ruinous powers. But I am quite excited. And of course, one of the items that they tease that you'll be getting are the iconic Virtus robes. And these will be a new mage robes you can use. And so going back to the Secrets of the North, which is coming out January 11th. They have an actual date, January 11th. Of course, 2 days after I get back from work, back to work. And with Secrets of the North, we'll be getting some new items that we've talked about before. These new items that have been already pulled, and it's going to come with a new farmable boss as well. That's 5 bosses for PVM from this little announcement here. Very, very exciting stuff. Really looking forward to it. Now, let's move on to the final announcement of the Winter Summit. And this announcement is a new, no, it might not be. We could potentially see a new skill come into the game. That's what their announcement was. They don't have anything planned. They have no skills developed or anything like that, but instead they want the community to answer the question, do you want a new skill brought into the game? If you've been around, you might have heard this before. Their approach to adding a new skill in the game was a little bit different. We've seen 3 skills pitched in the past. We've seen 3 skills fail in the polls every time. So the first skill that was ever pitched was the Artisan skill. And this was basically like the way what Slayer does for combat, giving you tasks of monsters to go kill. Artisan was going to do the same thing for skilling. The idea is you talk to someone, you get a contract, they say, hey, go make me 100 U-bows, U-longbows. Hey, go cook me 300 shrimp or something. I'm making up the number. I'm making up everything, really. But that was the idea. You get these contracts, and then you would get rewarded with it. And then as you leveled it, things would happen. It didn't pass. And I understand why it didn't pass. Not a great idea. I'm not super into it. I like the idea, but it's not a good skill. And we did see some of this come into the game with farming contracts, Mahogany Homes, Giants Foundry, maybe, sort of. I'm just adding that in there because I wanted a third example. But there's 2 examples for sure. I'm sure there's a third one that I'm not thinking of. So after that, they tried to pitch the idea of sailing. And sailing just barely failed. I'm pretty sure it was like It was at least 70%, but I'm pretty sure it was much closer to 75%. But it did fail. And what sailing was going to be sort of like dungeoneering was in RuneScape 3, mixed with maybe a little bit of Slayer. You basically get a boat, you get a crew, you go sail to an unknown island, you go explore it. Boom. That's how you level. That's how you train. That was pretty much it. From what they had fleshed out. That ended up failing. I think it failed because it wasn't fleshed out enough. Now, I would say this has been my favorite idea that they've pitched so far. I actually think that if this idea resurfaces in 2023, that will be the skill we get. It was the closest thing to being a cool and fun skill. We'll circle back on that. Sailing failed. Then in comes the next skill pitch, which is warding. Now, thematically, warding aligned the most with all the other skills of old school RuneScape. But it failed because the skill was essentially another crafting, smithing, or fletching skill. It was another artisan type skill where you create items with materials. It was going to be a way to craft. It's like tailoring in World of Warcraft, but you could basically create magic outfits with this new skill. You're going to do stuff like break down armor components for materials. It was like a mixed salad of different ideas all around the idea of like magical crafting. It's like rune crafting and magic armor and all that sort of stuff. Anyways, the reason that one fell. Now, I'll be honest, I'm pretty sure I voted yes on this because I wanted a new skill. Now, in hindsight, when I look back on it, I'm glad it didn't pass because it's not the type of skill that I want. I do not have fun training fletching. I don't have fun training crafting or smithing. It's AFK, which is okay, but I don't want another AFK skill. I don't want another skill that I can spend 10 mil to train as 10 mil an hour because I can get so much fast experience and bypass all the boring stuff. I don't want a skill that's like, I want to get through as fast as possible. I want a skill that's fun. And warding just wasn't going to do that. And I think that was a very strong argument for it not passing. So in a way, I'm kind of glad it did fail because I do not want another skill like that. So that's the problem with adding a new skill. It has to be fun. It has to be innovative. It has to be something new. What skill do we have now that is fun? Not really a whole lot, to be honest. I like Slayer. Some people don't like Slayer. I like farming because I like the idea of traveling around, gathering stuff. And I don't know, it's fun to see your herbs and stuff that you collect in a farm run go up. I think sailing was the strongest because it was such a great way to introduce new items and new weapons through these exploration of these islands. It was a way that you could add a new raid, tie it into it's this new dungeons and stuff that you could explore. It was a way that you could tie in a bunch of different elements into the skill to make it fun. You could have this whole idea of being a shipwright, maybe not actually building the ships, but you could be the captain. You could have your own crew and then you could mix and match and maybe different crew members give you different buffs. And then you could have your own little player-owned port system. I'm stealing that idea from RuneScape 3 because it already exists there. But you see what I mean? You have a bunch of different elements that tie into this idea of sailing, which also can tie into combat. And a lot of us, we love combat. So you add some combat in, boom, skill is now fun. Another skill that I think could also be quite strong is archaeology. It's a very lore-based skill in RuneScape 3 as well. And people love archaeology. I've heard so many good things about archaeology. And same thing, you can uncover dungeons and ruined crypts, and these are fun to explore. And if you add some monsters in there, boom, PVM, and people are happy. So this is going to be a multi-step process to get this new skill into the game if it's something the community wants. There is a poll in progress right now. You can go vote, and there's one question and one question only. It says, do you want a new skill? Yes or no? And you can choose. Now, if it passes that stage, there is going to be an open forum for the community to talk about what type of skill we want, maybe what elements we want, yada, yada, yada. We can just all scream and yell on Reddit and Twitter, and then Jagex will look through all the feedback and be like, hey, here's a good idea. Let's use it. Stage 3 will be skill pitches. A bunch of people will be able to have the chance at putting their own skills together. This is definitely the Wilderness Podcast approach. A while back, we did a bonus episode where players submitted and designed their own skill, and there was a lot of great ideas. It's like a 4-hour episode, but if you want to go back and listen to it, here's some ideas. There really were some really, really cool ideas. There was stuff like, there was like a theater skill or like an acting skill, and I'm going off memory. I'm going to butcher a bunch of them, but I'm not even kidding. Every suggestion that was pitched was an awesome idea. Some people went hard, okay? You know who I'm talking about. You're listening right now. You made an awesome write-up. I still have it. I've saved it. I still have that write-up. So anyway, stage 3 is skill pitches. They're going to go back and listen to our bonus episode, and they're going to say, you know what? We're gonna have this skill in the game because someone else has already developed it, and it's a great idea. And we'll credit the Wilderness Podcast, even though they don't really do anything except for recorded a bonus episode about it. Stage 4 is refinement. They're going to make sure the skill is a skill and make sure the skill is properly set up, I guess. They're going to develop the skill. That's what I'm trying to say. Stage 6, they will have a beta and they'll take some feedback to make sure it is good. I'm sure there is a bunch of different stages in between that we're missing because it definitely sounds like the players are just developing a new skill and Jack is going to say, looks good to me, let's add it in. That scares me because the community is really dumb. We're going to get something stupid like Slayer 2 added to the game. Anyways, it's going to be quite exciting. You know who's not excited for it? Any player who's already maxed out every one of their skills. And I don't mean just leveling it to 99. I mean, they've got 200 mil experience in every skill. Lynx Titan is warming up Lasagna as we speak because he is going to have a new skill to grind out to stay on top. Just when you thought you're free. Anyways, guys, what do you think of all of these announcements? What's your most favorite? Is there one that you don't like? AKA, it's probably going to be the account restriction build because that's a lot of people are like, lame. But anyways, let us know. Write in the Wilderness Podcast at gmail.com or our SpeakPipe. You can record a minute 30 audio bite to send over to us and we will play it. And a link down below if you'd like. Or you can just reach out on Discord or Twitter, wherever, and you can write it up as well. I want to hear your thoughts. What are you excited for? And what type of skill do you want? Do you even want a new skill? I know a lot of people don't want a new skill. We have a lot of people who only do PvP. They only do PvM. Having a new skill added to the game is just going to take away from PvMing and PvP. They don't want that. Totally understand that. It's just fluff for parts of the game that they'll never want to interact with. And if it's even worse when you're forced to do it. Maybe there's an item, a really good item locked behind sailing at level 80. Now you're forced to train it. Ooh, that's rough. Anywho, lots going on this week, as you guys just heard. So let's take a quick little break and we'll come back and go through our callers. All right, we're taking a quick little break and heading on over to the Grand Exchange. This is a segment where I tell you how you can support the show if that's something you wanted to do. We greatly appreciate any help we get. It help covers some of the costs that come with running a podcast. So any little bit of help does help. I said that sentence wrong, but that's okay. We're not going to edit it. So one way you can do that is by heading over to patreon.com/The Wilderness Podcast. And our top tier supporters get a special thank you every single episode. So thank you, Bronzion, Yolfi, Ferric, Strosity, P. Jackals, Mallard, Spalimo, The Kazi, Yay Fiber. Thank you so much for supporting the show, and thank you to everyone else who supports the show as well. Not everyone likes Patreon, and I get it. If you don't want to use Patreon, you want to use something else instead, and you can go to buymeacoffee.com/dills. We can do a one-time donation. So thank you to Anna for buying me a coffee this week. And last but not least, maybe it is last. Anyways, the last shout out goes to our Discord server boosters. If you are a big Discord enthusiast and you want to pay for their subscription, with that subscription, you get 2 boosts you can send to any server you like. And some people like to send it to our server, which gives us a lot of cool perks, including, but not limited to, a unique URL for joining our Discord server. That's right. If you're listening and you want to join the Discord server, it's as easy as typing discord.gg/thewilderness to join. Very easy stuff. So thank you to Toddy, Battlestabs, Chick, Dank T, Flarch King, aka Flarcheroni, Cosmonaut, Mon Player, Twisted Soul, and Twisted Uwu, who's also a top 200 GIM, by the way, Group Iron Man. It's all part of the name. Thank you guys. Thank you every single person who supports us. We really, really do appreciate it. Okay, short and sweet. Let's get back to it. All right, we are back from our break, and we got some callers. We got some callers that called in. Always my favorite part of the show. It really is. I get so excited. I get so jazzed up when I see a new call comes in. I get really excited. So always keep them coming in. And if you want to call, we have a link below. It's the SpeakPipe link. You can record yourself a message. I'm pretty sure you can take as many attempts at it as you can, because I know when I'm recording the question of the week, I'd take like 20 tries. I try so many times, but yep. So let's get into it. So the question of the week was, what did you do when the servers were down? And follow-up question, what would you do if the entire game was wiped? Now, not all of our callers have to, I mean, if you call in, you don't have to answer this question. And people don't always do that. So that's totally fine. Call in, tell us anything. Ask us a question, tell us a story, tell us an achievement, anything you want. You can call in and tell us that we suck if you want. That's totally cool. So let's get into it. Let's hear from our first caller, from the one and only Maticos1.
Skills Heartless. It's Maticos1 calling in from the office. I'm back in the office. A little housekeeping, actually, before I give my answer to the question of the week, which, by the way, I think is a really good question. First thing, I wanted to give a shout out to, this is bad, but I forgot the name of the guy who I want to shout out, but he shouted me out that I inspired him to call in, so glad I inspired you. Also, Dill's Guitar Hero is awesome, but Rock Band was the absolute beast. The drumming was so much fun, especially. My mom loved it. Just kidding, she hated it.
I will say the drumming was the best part of Rock Band. I friggin' loved the drumming on Rock Band. The guitar part, I kind of liked Guitar Hero more. I didn't really like the controller that came with Rock Band for some reason, but I did like how if you can remember, there's like a touchpad part of it where you had a part where you could just shred a solo or anything, and you could just like with your the little touchpad. I don't know what it's called. You could shred. That was kind of cool. Now the failure of the instruments was the microphone. I tested it out, and I think it was just obvious. It was just based on your pitch, so you could just go like and you could like kind of match it up. It wasn't as good. You didn't really have to sing. I remember they had a screamo heavy metal song, and all you had to do was go whenever the vocals part came on, and you would win. So there was some downfalls from the Rock Band, but it was still pretty good. I love the drums.
Anyway, question of the week. So I think if the entire server was reset, the first thing I'd do is definitely steal my original name back from the asshole who hacked my Maticos1 account. So he can add the 1 to his name. Secondly, I actually think I'd be kind of happy, weirdly, because all players would restart from level 3 and I would be closer to the best players. I'm currently super far behind. Third, I would organize a mob in front of the Jagex headquarters and just get angry at them just because. Anyway, great question. Great podcast. See y'all.
Maticos1. So glad. Always so nice to hear. And one of these days we will get a call from the villainous Maticos 0. I love the fact that you want to get together a angry mob outside of Jagex HQ And from there, that's where the plan ends. You get everyone angry outside Jagex HQ, and then I don't know what to do with this mob of people I've gathered up. I have no idea what we're going to do with it. What's that thing? Flash mobs start dancing? Maybe you could start dancing and make a viral YouTube video. Oh boy. Again, though, thank you so much for calling in. Let's hear from our next caller. That's Johnny D.
Hey, Wilderness Podcast. This is That's Johnny T. I remember back in the day, you would be chopping a tree and your axe head would fly off and you'd have to go pick it up. Do you remember that? Was I having a fever dream? Was that real?
I do remember that. And you could trade that. I'm pretty sure you could trade that axe head afterwards, but you would have an untradeable handle. And there was like kind of a market for people who are looking for like the heads, because they were like, you could buy them cheap. And if you have the handle, I remember there being kind of a market for it. And I liked that you could walk around with a little club in your hand because you lost the axe head. Now, but the part that to not be confused with was when there would be the tree would turn into like an ent. If you were still chopping it, it would destroy your axe. So, which is much different. I think you had to go get it repaired, maybe, or maybe it was just gone. I don't remember. Yeah. Oh, wild. That's a throwback.
I feel like that happened a lot.
It did.
And I don't think it's happened to me at all.
No, it's removed.
In the past like 3 years. Anyways, to answer the question though, I would be so sad if the RuneScape servers just like got wiped, but I know a week later I would have a new account and forget absolutely everything of my old one, and just sink my teeth right back in. Cause, I've realized I do like early game a lot. Like there's something about gaining those levels really quick that just hits me right in the dopamine vibes. But yeah, thanks guys. Love the podcast. Keep it up and, take care. Bye.
That's Johnny T, not to be confused with that's Johnny D, even though that's what it was signed as. I do agree that the early levels, it is fun to get those levels up quick. I think the reason I'm not a huge fan of the early game is because I think my goal is always set so far. It's like I make an Iron Man. What do I want to do? My first goal is to get to Barrows. It's kind of far away. So you don't get excited for like the early levels because you're just trying to fly through them as fast as possible. But I did enjoy it on my UIM when I was more caring about incremental gains. Like with an iron, I don't care about anything that comes before my first goal, it's kind of like getting to Barrows. That's usually my first goal because it's kind of exciting. So anything that happens before it, I don't really care. It's all just like busy work to get to where I want to be. When I play my Snowflake UIM, a little bit more. Every level was a little bit more exciting because it's like it just felt more impactful. So I think like as a new player, the early game is probably awesome because you get the levels so fast and it is quite enjoyable. But I must have done it so many times now that not so much. But I think I would get more excited for it on a new style of account. I am bored of playing the game the normal way, but give me an account that's locked in the wilderness, or give me an account that's locked to a specific combat stat. Give me an Iron Man that can't do any skilling. Then those earlier levels become a little bit more meaningful because it's a different game mode. I'm not thinking about when I get to Barrows, it'll be fun. I'm thinking about when I get to a Mithril Scimitar, it'll be fun. So that's a little bit of the difference there. Guys, thank you so much for your call-ins as always. I always do appreciate anyone who wants to call in. SpeakPipe link below. Feel free to call in about whatever it is you want to talk about. But you do not need to just call in. You can always write us an email, or you can send us a message on Discord or Twitter, whatever it was. So we got a email this week from Busco Beep. He says, "Hey guys, it's been almost a year since my last email. Thanks for continuing to put on the podcast and keeping myself and other listeners up to date and entertained. I have done so much this year in RuneScape, but I also have so much farther to go." That's like the story of RuneScape right there. It never ends. It never ends. You max your count out. It's not done. keep on leveling, keep on gaining experience in those skills. You get 200 mil in every single skill. Too bad we're bringing out a new skill. Get ready to do it all over again. It never ends. And when it does end, you make a new account, do it all over again. It's slightly different. So completely get it. Anyways, back to Busco Beep. He says, I have completed goals and trained skills to level I never thought I would achieve. Getting 99s in strength, attack, prayer, slayer, range, cooking, fire making, and 98 magic as well. I'm currently working on gaining gold for buyables and having all diaries done except for Candor and Elites, which is huge, by the way. I remember when I first started in old school RuneScape in 2013. That's when I played old school RuneScape. I didn't stick with it long because I fell off because I was constantly thinking of my old account, which was level 110 at the time. And I was like, gosh, I just want this account back. I don't want to train all the way there. I'm never going to surpass those levels. Well, anyways, here we are today, and my account is way farther than those levels. So it happens. We're smarter. We're more efficient. We know the best ways to train and how to get to where we want to go faster than we did before. So if you've always been, I don't know, hesitant for your old account, like it'll probably be a little bit faster. Anyways, a lot of us went through the same thing. We didn't want to start all over again, but I think a lot of us who stuck to it realized we got to where we were way quicker this time. Anyways, Busco Beat says, I've also gotten pets I never thought I would get, such as the Alchemical Hydra pet, which is an awesome pet, Corrupted Gauntlet pet, awesome pet, Zulrah pet, awesome pet, Skatizo pet, awesome pet, and Tangleroot. And he got all these pets very incredibly spoon. Tangleroot, also a very cool pet. Of them all, what is my favorite? Ooh, that is tough. I actually can't pick one. I don't think I can pick one. Tangleroot is cool because I love all the little metamorphs you can give to it, but Hydra is cool. Hydra or Zulrah are two of the pets I really, really want to. But they're all awesome pets. Huge congrats. And that leads into my question of when did you guys have a moment of holy crap, I am gaming? Like for me, it was learning Corrupted Gauntlet and going from not getting Hunlift's health below 700 to being confident in every run that I will not die. Or another time where I could just not get the hang of the ghost for some reason with Cerberus and I kept dying, but learning it, and it's now a breeze. You guys ever have a moment like that? And if so, where, when was it? It could be early game, mid game, or end game content. I think we all have a moment that sticks out. Gosh, that is a good question. What is a moment that I thought, wow, we are gaming? I think I have that moment a lot. I had it a lot. I still do. But the parts that stick out a lot were anytime I had to learn a new boss. Because I don't have to go through this process that much anymore, I often forget. And when I am learning new content, it's usually like really hard content or the content's like really, really long. So it's harder to feel this way. But I remember like learning Zulrah and I remember just going in there and thinking, I'm not going to be able to beat this boss. Like, how am I ever going to defeat this boss? And then eventually it was I'm pretty sure it was like my 8th death on it. I was able to get the first kill. And then, which isn't that big of a deal. First kill, okay, maybe you lucked out, maybe whatever it was. But I remember when I was consistently getting one kill every single time going, I was thinking like, look how much obviously better I'm doing this time around. So that felt really good. More recently was the Phosani's Nightmare. It's this really hard boss. It's a solo boss, and the fights are like 12 minutes long. And I died 69 times. And let's say and I would get through the like far into the fight sometimes. So, but let's say, what is 69 times? That's like 5. So that's me not even getting halfway through the fight. That's getting like 5 minutes in. Oh my God, I can't type. So that is 345 minutes. So it's 345 divided by 65. So I basically spent almost 6 hours dying at Phosani's Nightmare. Way more than that, because it takes like 5 minutes to walk there. So anyways, minimum 6 hours dying probably until I got my first kill. And I remember I got the first kill. I was shaking. My hands were literally shaking. And it felt like a Jad moment, like the Jad hands. And I got the kill. And I wanted to like, yes, like I wanted to scream. Oh, it felt so good to get that kill. Felt amazing. And I did a Phosani's kill earlier today. I've got like 30 kills now at this point. I don't do it that much because it's such a long fight. And I got that feeling again because I was like a little bit rusty and I got the kill and I was like, frig. Yeah, that felt really good. Another moment that stands out a lot is PKing. I wasn't really good at PKing. Like talked earlier about Bounty Hunter, but when I was able to get kills when I was first trying it out, it felt really good. But just on my pure, I was never really good, and I decided I wanted to get good at it. So I was practicing a lot at Last Man Standing, and then I just remember going into the wilderness, and I'd get into fights with other pures, and next thing you know, like holy shit, I'm controlling this fight. Like I'm outperforming them. Like I'm the one who's on top of all the offensive. That's what I love about PKing. There's an element of like chess in it where you're trying to predict what your opponent's going to do. But so I started playing this card game called Flesh and Blood. I freaking love it. I'm obsessed. Like I am so obsessed with this card game. It's so much fun. Anyone who is into it, let's talk because I'm still new to it, but I am obsessed. It's so much fun. And there's a term that's used a lot called tempo, gaining tempo. And this might be used in other trading card games too. I'm not too sure, but I know it's been brought up a lot when I've been playing it. People are talking about, oh, I had tempo on turn 4. Oh, you had tempo here. So what that is like I'm playing cards, and so the way Flesh and Blood works is you have like 4 cards in your hand, and you can attack with them. And if somebody's attacking you with one of the cards, you can use the same cards that you attack with to defend. They have an attack number and then a defense number. So you can choose to defend if you want, or take the damage and then you attack on your turn. Now, what tempo is when you're controlling the fight, basically. So what this means is because when you defend with a card, when your turn comes next, you don't have any card. You lost that card to attack with. You draw at the end of your turn. So if you attack me and I defend with all 4 of my cards, when it comes to my turn again, I can't do anything. All my cards are used. So my turn ends, I draw my cards again, and now it's the opponent's turn. And if they can just keep attacking me and forcing me to use all of my defensive cards, all my cards to defend, they're controlling the fight. I can't do anything because I have to keep defending because they're going to kill me if I don't. That's what tempo is. And with PKing, you have the same thing sometimes where the person is constantly eating, or you're able to constantly switch your attacks. So you're hitting them off prayer and you're just controlling the fight. And you can predict that you're going to when to change your attack to hit them. And because you're doing so much damage to them, they're having to eat on top of attack you, on top of switch their prayers. And it's just causing them to like have one additional thing to do every time. Every time you hit them, they're having to eat on top of attacking you, on top of switching prayers. You have tempo in that fight. Like you're controlling it because you have 2 things to worry about, which is your prayer and offenses. They've got 3 things to worry about, which is eating food on top of the other 2. And you're at the advantage like twice now. You're at the advantage because you're dealing damage, and you're at the advantage because it's just you're doing less. So you can just easily like, I'm gonna switch this weapon, I'm gonna switch this weapon. It is so much hard to be switching all your weapons when you're constantly having to switch your prayers and eat food and make sure you're not gonna die. So I've had a few fights like that against other pures, and I was like, it was a big moment of feeling myself improve. I spent so long getting my ass handed to me over and over again. I am now controlling this fight, and they might get away, but I have the upper hand. It's like an MMA if someone's teeing off on someone who's been rocked, but they're not knocked out. You know what I mean? They're just throwing punches, and the other person is not able to really throw a punch. They're just trying to defend and get through it and kind of gather themselves. It's kind of like that. So it's really good. I'm going to find a way to sneak Flesh and Blood in whenever I can because, oh man, is it so much fun. Busco Beep, thank you so much for your email. There are a whole lot of like gamer defining moments, whether it's PVMing or even with skilling now with Hallowed Sepulchre and stuff. I think a lot of people might be able to relate of like, you do this content and you die 100 times, maybe not 100, you die 10 times and then you finally complete it and it feels good. But it doesn't just feel good and then every time after that, you're like, I did it. I got over that hurdle. It took me forever to learn this content, but now that I've beaten it once, I can beat it 100 times because I have basically mastered it. Feels good. It does feel really, really good. Great stuff. So that opens up to our question of the week. We have a lot going on, but what do you guys think about this Winter Summit? What are you most excited for the Winter Summit? What are you least excited for? And what are your thoughts? New skill? What do you think it's going to be? Is it going to be, yeah, definitely want to hear it. And if you have a gamer defining moment, there's a time in your, if there is a time that you've been playing RuneScape where it was like a pivotal point. There's 2 chapters in your RuneScape career. There's everything before this one event and everything after. It's a little exaggerated, but a lot of us have a bunch of them. Abyssal Sire and Cerberus, both of those were also game defining moments because they were hard bosses. You die a lot at Cerberus because those ghosts, that's a perfect example. The Cerberus ghosts, the timing is so weird, but once you master it, you're like, oh, now I know it. I'm going to do it every single time now. It feels real good. All right, but that is it this week. So thank you everyone who called in and left us some messages. Really do appreciate it. It's my favorite part of the show. So feel free, if you've been thinking about doing it, I want to encourage you to write in and tell us whatever it is. I do really enjoy it. So, but hey, now it is our time to do our, what do they call it? They call it housekeeping. Matt Cosman called it. If you want to join our in-game clan, it is Clan Wild. You'll need to ask one of our moderators to let you in, but they will definitely let you into the clan. And if you're not in a clan, you should find your own clan because it makes the game a lot fun. Even if you're just going to sit there and lurk, find a good group of people that you enjoy watching them conversate. And it's just, I do it all the time. I'll be on mobile late at night, can't sleep. I jump on the clan, watching people just chat, and it feels nice. I like it. I don't always jump into the conversation because I might be tired and on mobile and all that sort of stuff. But it's just fun to, it's like being in a room with other people and people are having a conversation and you're just kind of listening in. It's nice. Anyways, yeah, Clan Wild. Our Discord server is discord.gg/thewilderness. We have bingo coming up. So if you want to get into bingo, link below in the description to sign up. But it all takes place on Discord. So do join the Discord. You do not need to be in the clan either, by the way. I've had a few people ask if they can play and they're not in the clan. 100% okay. But you will need to join the Discord server because all teams are organized there and everything's kept track on Discord. So you might have to do that one. Our email is thewildernesspodcast@gmail.com. Our Twitter is @thewildernessrs. And we have a SpeakPipe link in the description below if you want to call in. Okay, so I think I've got through everything. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. These solo ones are always a little bit different. If there's things... So yeah, feel free to give me your feedback. Things you liked, things you didn't like. It'll only help me improve, and I do appreciate it. I know these solo episodes aren't super common. They happen from time to time. It is what it is. But of course, we need a song of the week to play. And we're going to choose... Let's do the song Anywhere. Why? Why not? And this song is unlocked at Merrim's main gate on Ape Atoll. This song came out in 2004 and is featured in the Monkey Madness 1 quest. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Let me know what your thoughts are on this Winter Summit, and we'll see you guys on the next one.